power of thoughts. Watch your thoughts, they become words. Watch your words, they become actions. Watch your actions, they become habits. Watch your habits, they become character. Watch your character, for it becomes your destiny. Our thoughts are incredibly powerful. Thoughts can have extremely negative effects on our emotional and physical well-being, or they can have extremely positive effects. In the last lecture, we talked about creative problem solving, or doing something that will nip your stressors in the bud. But what if all the creative problem solving in the world is not going to get rid of your stressors? If you have absolutely no control over your stressors, there's always something over which you do have control, and that is your thoughts. Before we talk about cognitive restructuring techniques, it's important to understand just how powerful our thoughts can be. First, let's revisit the model of stress. Making a conscious effort to control your thoughts and perceptions influences your feelings and emotions, which thereby influences your physiology. So removing stress-inducing thoughts intercepts the stress response. It's been said that it's the mind, not the body, that creates most of the fear, stress, and dissatisfaction we experience in our lives. I've mentioned at least a couple of times in past lectures how important perception is regarding stress levels. Just to clarify, thoughts determine perception. So thoughts and perceptions can be said to be synonymous. Because stress-inducing thoughts determine stressful emotions, and stressful emotions trigger the stress response, learning to control your thoughts and change your perception is perhaps the most important thing you can do to effectively manage stress. For this reason, the cognitive restructuring techniques are quite possibly the most important skills that you learn from this class. Remember, the higher up on the model of stress that you can set up a roadblock, the better. So learning to control your thoughts and change your stress-inducing perceptions about various stressors prevents your body from going through all that stuff that we talked about in the lecture on the physiology of stress. An example that illustrates the power of our thoughts is a research article that was published in the Journal of Pain and Symptom Management. Results indicated that subjects who were given favorable messages about the beneficial effects of immersing their hands in ice water had better pain tolerance to the cold water than those who were told that exposure to ice water had negative consequences. There are no benefits to putting your hands in cold water, but the people who were told that there were benefits did not feel the pain that comes from putting your hands in ice-cold water nearly as much as those who were told that it was bad for them. Another example of the power of thoughts, specifically how stress can adversely affect one's health, is the case of a 53-year-old man in Tokyo, Japan, who suddenly fell to the ground after being involved in a physical aggression by two younger men. The forensic autopsy revealed no significant injury except for slight pale abrasions on his face. The cause of death was established as a heart attack, probably related to the emotional stress of being in a fight. So the man died not from wounds from the fight, but from the stress of being in a fight. Another example of the power of our thoughts is the fact that specific thoughts cause specific physical ailments. Psychosomatic disease experts found that patients in a mental hospital had some specific physical ailments that correlated to specific emotional states. For example, those who wanted to end a situation or get rid of something or somebody had problems with diarrhea. People who were determined to persevere through some problem experienced constipation. Those who felt interfered with or were prevented from doing something that they wanted to do broke out in hives. Our attitudes, thoughts, and perceptions are obviously intertwined, so learning to control our thoughts allows us to control or alter our attitude. Just how important is attitude? A health educator at Washington University said, "It's been said 1,000,000 times and in a multitude of places, far more prestigious than here, attitude is everything." I don't know how or why I know that. It's nothing that can be proven by the scientific method. It's a simple truth that one either buys or doesn't. Attitude is more important than the past, than education, than money, than circumstances, than what other people say or do, than appearance, than giftedness or skill. The remarkable thing is we have a choice every day regarding the attitude we will embrace for that day. We cannot change the past. We cannot change the fact that people act in certain ways. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play on the one string we have, and that is our attitude. From the lecture on stress and health, you now know that our health and stress levels go hand in hand. Our emotional health, especially, is just as important as our physical health. Learning to constantly see the silver lining, or seeing the glass as half full rather than half empty, improves our emotional well-being, which thereby improves our ability to tolerate and handle stress. Nearly all of the cognitive restructuring techniques involve some aspect of optimistic thinking. Here's an example that illustrates this glass is half full concept. There once was a woman who woke up one morning, looked in the mirror, and saw that she only had 3 hairs on her head. Well, she said, I think I'll braid my hair today. So she did and had a wonderful day. The next day she woke up, looked in the mirror, and saw that she had only 2 hairs on her head. And she said, I think I'll part my hair down the middle today. So she did, and she had a grand day. The next day she woke up, looked in the mirror, and noticed that she had only 1 hair on her head. So she said, I'm going to wear my hair in a ponytail today. So she did, and she had a fun day. The next day, she woke up, looked in the mirror, and noticed there wasn't a single hair left on her head. She exclaimed, Yay! I don't have to fix my hair today. And here's another good one that illustrates the importance of optimistic thinking. A man of 92 years is moving into an old people's home today. His wife of 70 years has recently died, and he is obliged to leave his home. After waiting several hours in a retirement home lobby, he gently smiles as he is told that his room is ready. As he slowly walks to the elevator using his cane, the staff worker describes his small room to him, including the sheet hung at the window which serves as a curtain. I like it very much, he says, with the enthusiasm of an 8-year-old boy who's just been given a new puppy. Sir, you haven't even seen the room yet. Hang on a moment. We're almost there, replies the staff worker. That has nothing to do with it, he replied. Happiness is something I choose in advance. Whether or not I like the room does not depend on the furniture or decor, but rather it depends on how I decide to see it. It is already decided in my mind that I like my room. It is a decision I make every morning when I wake up. I can choose to spend my day in bed, enumerating all the difficulties that I've had with the parts of my body that no longer work very well, or I can get up and give thanks to heaven for those parts that are still in working order. Every day is a gift, and as long as I can open my eyes, I will focus on the new day and all the happy memories that I have built up during my life. Old age is like a bank account. You withdraw in later life what you deposited along the way. So my advice to you is to deposit all the happiness you can in your bank account of memories. And the old man says to the staff worker, thank you for your part in filling my account with happy memories, which I'm still continuing to fill. So optimistic thinking is definitely important. But another concept pertaining to the power of thoughts that's important to mention is the danger of expectations. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have high expectations for yourself. I'm actually a huge believer in goal setting. But oftentimes our stressors are created or exacerbated by unmet expectations. You don't expect someone to be rude to you. You don't expect to get a poor grade on that exam that you studied so hard for, etc. The wisdom of hot chocolate. A group of graduates well established in their careers were discussing their lives at a class reunion. They decided to go visit their old university professor, now retired, who was always an inspiration to them. During their visit, the conversation turned to complaints about stress in their work, lives, and relationships. After offering his guests hot chocolate, the professor went into the kitchen and returned with a large pot of hot chocolate and an assortment of cups. Some cups were porcelain, glass, or crystal, some plain-looking, some expensive, some exquisite. He invited each to help themselves to the hot chocolate. When they all had a cup of hot chocolate in hand, the professor shared his thoughts. Notice that all of the nice-looking expensive cups were taken, leaving behind the plain and cheap ones. While it is normal for you to want only the best for yourselves, that is the source of your problems and stress. The cup that you are drinking from adds nothing to the quality of the hot chocolate. In most cases, it is just more expensive, and in some cases even hides what we wanted to drink. What each of you really wanted was hot chocolate. You did not want the cup, but you consciously went for the best cups, and soon you began to eye one another's cups. Now, friends, please consider this. Life is the hot chocolate. Your job, money, and position in society are the cups. They are just tools to hold and contain life. The cup you have does not define, nor does it change the quality of life you are living. Sometimes by consequence, concentrating only on the cup, we fail to enjoy the hot chocolate. And always remember this: sometimes by concentrating only on the cup, we fail to enjoy the hot chocolate that God has provided us. God brews the hot chocolate. He does not choose the cup. The happiest people don't have the best of everything. They just make the best of everything they have. And the richest person is not the one who has the most, but the one who needs the least. Enjoy your hot chocolate. So sure, optimistic thinking and being careful of our expectations is a good thing, but just how easy is it to think more optimistically, especially when you have a more pessimistic type of personality? Remember, personality is made up of 4 components: values, attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors. It's completely possible to change our behaviors. So the justification, "I can't help it, it's just who I am," doesn't hold water. We're going to talk about things we can do to make permanent behavior change in a later lecture, but I want to talk just for a minute about the fact that we have the power to choose our thoughts. Viktor Frankl, the Jewish psychotherapist held in a concentration camp during World War II, said, "We who lived in concentration camps can remember the men who walked through the huts comforting others, giving away their last piece of bread. They may have been few in number, but they offer sufficient proof that everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." And there were always choices to make. Every day, every hour offered the opportunity to make a decision which determined whether you would or would not submit to those powers which threatened to rob you of your very self, your inner freedom, which determined whether or not you would become the plaything of circumstance, renouncing freedom and dignity to become molded into the form of the typical inmate. Compare your stressors to those of Dr. Frankl and others who lived in a concentration camp who survived horribly inhumane conditions. Isn't it possible for us to choose our attitudes and thoughts if those prisoners were able to choose their attitudes and thoughts? Welcome to the Ego Repair Hotline. Press 1 for, "Hey, you look great today." Press 2 for, "How did you get to be so smart?" Press 3 for, "I wish I was more like you." So the good news is you don't have to call an Ego Repair Hotline to hear what you want to hear. You can talk to yourself. Self-talk, or your thoughts, is involved in every cognitive restructuring technique. Cognitive restructuring simply is a matter of getting into the habit of 1, eavesdropping on the conversation that you're having with yourself, and 2, catching yourself when you're thinking negative thoughts and replacing those negative thoughts with positive ones. Because stress originates in the brain, a huge part of effectively managing stress is controlling your self-talk or thoughts. In order to take control of your thoughts, you obviously have to learn to tune in and take control of the conversation that you're continually having with yourself. Most people probably might be a tad uncomfortable around those who continually talk to themselves out loud, but we all constantly talk to ourselves 24/7. We talk to ourselves literally from the moment we wake up every morning until we go to sleep at night. We talk to ourselves when someone is talking to us. We're usually thinking about how we're going to respond to what has been said to us. If you add up the amount of time during your entire life that we talk to ourselves, that's a lot of thoughts. The supplemental video for this lecture is 90-10, the single most important thing you can do for your stress, and is just under 11 minutes. It's a little long, but it's got some very good info. Key points. Removing stress-inducing thoughts intercepts the stress response. Your thoughts are incredibly powerful. Psychosomatic disease experts found that specific thoughts are associated with specific physical ailments. Optimistic thinking is involved in virtually every cognitive restructuring technique. Beware of your expectations, as unmet expectations can be a huge source of stress. Cognitive restructuring basically involves tuning into your conversations within your mind and changing